This video is about the Second Opium War. The war started with the Arrow incident in 1856, and 4 years later, the war was over. The Chinese had to ratify the Treaty of Tientsin. On the one side, we have the United Kingdom and France. They needed support at one point of the war from the Americans. On the other side, there was Imperial China. The Chinese protected their society and economy for a long time from foreign influence. But in 1839, the United Kingdom went to war with China and they won the First Opium War. China had to accept the Treaty of Nanking and open 5 ports for foreign trade. In the 1850s, the European powers intensified their economic expansion into overseas markets. Against this background, and in the spirit of free trade, the United Kingdom had a few demands on China. China should open the whole market for European trade, should legalize the opium trade, which was going on anyway, and there should be a British embassy in Beijing. Now to the Arrow incident, which started the war. The Arrow was a Chinese merchant vessel under the British flag. The Chinese thought that the Arrow was involved in piracy. That was wrong, but anyway, the Chinese boarded the ship, took 14 sailors prisoner, and took down the British flag. The British were not happy and demanded to release the prisoners, and they demanded a formal apology for the insult of the flag. They issued a 24 hours ultimatum, after which the Chinese released the prisoners but did not give any apology. Therefore, the Royal Navy bombarded Canton. The war was on. Before the war could really start, the United Kingdom looked for allies, and they found an ally in France. France took an incident a year earlier as the casus belli. A French missionary, was killed in a province where foreigners were not allowed. A British-French expeditionary force landed in the south, and they quickly took control over Guangzhou. The military might was too much for the Chinese, and the Chinese signed the Treaty of Tientsin. This ended the first phase of the Second Opium War. The Treaty of Tientsin stated that there will be diplomatic missions in Beijing. 11 additional ports will be opened. Shipping on the Yangtze is unrestricted for foreign vessels. Foreigners can move unrestrictedly in China. There's freedom of religion for Christians, and China will compensate the United Kingdom and France. Furthermore, that is a nice one, Chinese are not allowed anymore to name British citizens barbarians in official documents. Now the British and French wanted to bring their diplomats to Beijing, and they had also more than 2,000 troops aboard. This fleet, the commander of the Chinese fortress near Tientsin, denied the British fleet to pass and sail up the river high. A firefight started, and the British fleet could just only escape because of American support. That meant war was on again, and the French and British took strategic positions in the north. They landed near Tientsin, took the city, and marched forwards towards Beijing. Now the Chinese emperor asked for peace, but Harry Parkes, the British envoy, declined. That was regarded as an insult by the Chinese. They arrested Harry Parkes, and some members of his staff were very brutally executed. This meant the gloves are off, game on. And now the British and French pushed through. They pushed to Beijing, won 2 battles, and then invaded Beijing, took Beijing, and there they looted and destroyed the Summer Palace. Now China had to accept the Treaty of Tientsin. Following the war, the European influence and the influence of the United States on China in China grew. The traditional China under the Qing dynasty continued to decrease, but also the modernization of society and military intensified. China ceded now the Kowloon Peninsula to Britain. In the First Opium War, they lost Hong Kong Island, but now the Kowloon Peninsula became part of the Crown Colony. It should be mentioned that the area around Vladivostok was taken by Russia. That was the Second Opium War in 5.